Good evening and welcome into Sports Talk on a Budget. It is Wednesday night, August 28th, year of our Lord 2024. Just before I get into the show, I want to just start out saying if you prefer the audio podcast, please like and subscribe to the show on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Or if you prefer the video version, you can like and subscribe right here on YouTube. Leave a comment if you'd like, but please like and subscribe to the show as much as you can. With that being said, let's go ahead and move to what the topics of the show are going to be today. And going to be traveling this weekend and next week, so we're going to do my NFL preview show today for the NFL season that gets started next Thursday. So we're about a week away from the NFL season. So that'll be my topic for the day. I'll go over my top storylines in the NFL from the offseason, pick my division winners, give you what my playoff teams are going to be for the 2024 NFL season. And then I will end my show as I do in August and September in the football season, basically, with my week one college football picks. Yes, we're finally here. We have a full slate of college football games this weekend. Can't wait for that. Both games on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even Monday. Can't wait for that. So I'll give you my top 5 college football picks for the weekend. And then as the NFL season gets started, I'll give you my top 5 NFL picks going forward starting next week. But this is all about the NFL to start. We'll finish off with college football with my picks. But let's go ahead and dive into my NFL preview show. So as I mentioned, wanted to start off with some of the top offseason storylines from this past offseason heading into the 2024 season. And one of the major storylines that is kind of coming to an end but still going on has really kind of reared its head during training camp and some of the offseason as well was notable holdouts, especially at the wide receiver position. Now, CeeDee Lamb was a big name that was holding out from Dallas Cowboys training camp. He just signed on Monday to a new deal, getting about $34 million a year. So he is going to be the second highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. So he just signed, but we're still waiting on guys like Jamar Chase for the Cincinnati Bengals, Brandon Ayuk for the San Francisco 49ers. And the 49ers have another person who is holding out, of course, and that is left tackle and probably best tackle in the league in Trent Williams. So those have been huge storylines this offseason, and it's mainly been around the wide receiver position, but wanted to focus on the 49ers position. Not only do you have one of your best offensive weapons holding out in Brandon Ayuk, but you probably have one of your best overall players holding out in Trent Williams, your left tackle. And like I said, probably the best left tackle in the league still, even though he's getting older. Hall of Famer, no doubt, probably first ballot Hall of Famer. So it's been an interesting offseason for the 49ers. I'll get into that a little bit when I get into my predictions show part and get to the NFC West. But holdouts have been a big part of training camp. They always kind of are. You always have at least 2 to 3 players holding out, either players who are on their rookie deal trying to get extensions again on their first full deal, or you have guys that are falling off and have one last year on their contract from their first full deal that are looking for a new contract. So a lot of holdouts there. We do have Hassan Reddick holding out in New York for the Jets as well after they traded for him. Crazy situation there. Classic Jets situation. You trade for a guy who wanted a new contract in Philadelphia. You bring him to New York and you don't give him a new contract and you expect him to show up to training camp. He has not. And I don't know if we're going to see Hassan Reddick in a Jets uniform, to be honest. And the other two people, I think Jamar Chase is going to play. He's been at practice. It's been more of a hold in. He practiced a couple of times this week, just kind of light practices. So I think we'll be fine. The Bengals will be fine on that front with Jamar Chase. But looking at the two guys for the San Francisco 49ers, I don't know if we see Ayuk week 1. I don't know if we see Trent Williams week 1. And that could be a big thing happening week 1 because, of course, the 49ers came off another Super Bowl appearance and are looking to get there again and finally win one this year. They need both those players to do that. So we'll see how things finish out the offseason going into the first week of the season next week for the 49ers and some of these other teams with their notable holdout players. Next big storyline was rookie quarterbacks. There was 6 quarterbacks taken in the top 12 picks of the NFL draft this year. 3 of those guys have already been named starters. First overall pick, Caleb Williams was named the starter pretty much right off the bat after he got drafted by the Chicago Bears. Jane Daniels, second overall pick, was named starter for the Washington Commanders a couple weeks ago. And then you have Bo Nix, who was the 12th overall pick to the Denver Broncos, was also named the starter last week for the Denver Broncos. J.J. McCarthy, who was the 10th overall pick by the Minnesota Vikings, suffered an injury and is going to be out for the year. Michael Penix Jr., we don't expect to see him for a while unless there's injury to Kirk Cousins. He's more of the backup plan and future plan for the Atlanta Falcons. And then that takes us to Drake May. And as obviously you can see that Patriots logo behind me, Drake May, I've been very invested in his preseason play. And the last two preseason games for him, yes, I know it's preseason, but you take it with a grain of salt, but this is a rookie. This is the only action he's had in the NFL so far. He has been the best quarterback, bar none. He has been better than Jacoby Brissett. Now, that offensive line for the New England Patriots is not good, so I could see why you don't want to put Drake May out there to get injured. But if you put Jacoby Brissett out there, who is not a mobile quarterback, he is a pocket quarterback behind this offensive line, I think if you're the New England Patriots organization, you're just saying that you're not really expecting to win. Because Drake May at this point gives you your best opportunity to win. I know you want to think about the future. This year is kind of a throwaway year, but this is the New England Patriots and this is Robert Kraft. Yes, they may not be great this year, but I don't think they're just going to throw away games and throw away seasons in that respect. So I think you probably see Drake May sooner rather than later. The report is that Gerard Mayo is going to name a quarterback tomorrow morning at his press conference at about 8:30 a.m. So we'll see that. Indication is that it probably will be Jacoby Brissett, but either way, you'll probably will see Drake May sooner rather than later. We thought it'd be later, but he has developed quicker than most people have thought, including me. So it looks like we'll see him sooner rather than later. But this QB draft class, especially the first round QBs, has been touted and been talked about all offseason. And I think they have a good chance of having really good play this first year. I think Caleb Williams is set up great for the Chicago Bears there. I like what Jaden Daniels has done in the preseason for the Washington Commanders. They have underrated weapons as well. And then Bo Nix has had an amazing preseason so far. Yes, he's not the most flashy guy. He's not the guy that's probably going to put highlight reels every weekend, but he's a consistent player, an accurate and quick decision maker, a guy who fits perfectly in a Sean Payton offense, and that's why he's there in Denver. So I think we have a chance to see this rookie class really take off. Could rival the ones that we've seen in the past, whether that was 04 with Big Ben, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, or all the way back to 1983 with guys like Marino, Elway, Kelly, and all those guys that were picked in that draft as well. So really bullish about a lot of those rookie quarterbacks. Want to see how they do this year. I think the rookie of the year race is going to be very interesting there. And then another storyline from this offseason is QBs, quarterbacks getting paid. We had Tua get paid. We had Trevor Lawrence get paid. We had Jordan Love get paid. We had Jared Goff get another contract extension and get paid. So many quarterbacks, and we can debate here. We can sit and debate. Okay, did Trevor Lawrence or Tua Tagovailoa deserve the money that they got? Maybe not. They haven't shown to be those type of quarterbacks. Jordan Love got paid off of 8 games from last year, so that was a question mark there. At the quarterback position in the NFL, you have to pay a premium. And if you don't have a serviceable quarterback on your team, you don't have a chance. That's why there were 6 quarterbacks taken in the top 12 in the NFL draft. And that's why you see guys like Trevor Lawrence and Tua getting big paydays, even though they haven't really been great. They've been good enough for their franchises, and their franchises believe that they're better than what's out there on the market. So that's why they're paying them this high money. Same with Jordan Love. Now, Jordan Love, I think, has more potential than those other 2 quarterbacks. But either way, quarterbacks getting paid this offseason was a huge storyline. Jared Goff gets his extension. He's been solid for the Lions ever since he was traded from the Rams. But that was a huge storyline. Yes, some question marks at those quarterback positions. Should they have gotten paid? They did. Let's move on. It's just how standard operation procedure in the NFL at this point. So like I said, those are some of the top storylines. Let's go ahead and get into my division picks. We're going to start in the AFC, and we're going to start on the East Coast. And we're going to go with the East. This is going to hurt me to say, but I have my Patriots finishing 4th in that division. I really think that we are going to see Drake May, and I think we'll see some pop from Drake May. We'll see some pop from the young wide receivers, whether that's Jalen Polk or Javon Baker. I think we'll see some strides from this team as the season gets later in the year. I think it might be a little rough to start, but as the season gets later in the year, we'll see some strides. But as of right now, I think they're the 4th best team in the division. And number 3, and a lot of people are high on this team. I'm not high on this team. I'm more in the see it to believe it mode, and that is the New York Jets. The New York Jets, of course, they bring in Aaron Rodgers last year. He plays 4 plays, tears his Achilles. Now he's supposed to be healthy. Okay. He's 40 years old, coming off an Achilles injury. His last year in Green Bay wasn't great. So what Aaron Rodgers are we getting? I think a lot of people are estimating the weapons that they have on the offensive side. Garrett Wilson is a good wide receiver, but he's probably the 12th or 13th best number 1 wide receiver in the league. There's probably 10 to 12 to 13 teams that have better number 1 overall options. Breece Hall is a good running back, but I think he's being a little overvalued as well. The defense is going to be good, but I don't know. I just don't believe in this organization. I don't believe in Aaron Rodgers having a fully healthy season going through the year. And I think they're just a really unserious organization. You see with all the pandering that they've done to Aaron Rodgers over the last couple of years, the Hassan Reddick contract and that issue. I don't believe in the Jets. I need to see it to believe it. And the Jets are kind of like the Clippers in the NBA. They're kind of just snake bitten. They can't get out of their own way. So I think the Jets' overall curse probably plays into a factor as well. And number 2, I'm going to have the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills have won this division every single year since Tom Brady left. So the Buffalo Bills have owned this division since Tom Brady left the division. But they have lost a lot this offseason. Of course, you lose Stephon Diggs, your number one wide receiver. You lose Gabe Davis, your number 2 wide receiver. But the defensive side, you lose guys like Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White. Matt Milano just went out a couple weeks ago and is going to be out for the season. A lot to replace in Buffalo. Yes, Josh Allen is a freak at quarterback, but he also makes a lot of mistakes as well and can't be trusted on a game-to-game basis, even though I think he's a top 3 quarterback in this league. I just feel like there's too much to replace in Buffalo. On offense, I think there'll be a 2 tight end offense with Kincaid and Knox. We'll see what they can do there. I don't think their defense is going to be nearly as good as it has been in the past. Just you can't lose all that leadership and experience on the defensive side and just expect to continue at that high level. So that's why I have the Bills as the number 2 team in the division. Finishing first in the AFC East, I have the Miami Dolphins. Yes, Miami lost some pieces on defense as well. You lose Christian Wilkins to the Raiders, but they're the most explosive team on offense, maybe in the league, with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You have Raheem Mostert, Devin Achane at running back, just explosion and speed all over the field. This is a team that should have won the division last year, but stumbled down the stretch. I think when they get Bradley Chubb back and Jalen Phillips back healthy this year, that'll help their defense. And I just think they've lost the least from this group. When you look at them and the Bills, I don't trust the Jets. So I'm going to go ahead and roll with the Dolphins as your AFC East division champions. Then we'll move to the AFC North, and clearly the toughest division in the AFC is the AFC North, in my opinion. The number 4 spot, I think this is the year that they take a step back, and this is the first year that Mike Tomlin finishes under 500. Of course, you know what that means when I say Mike Tomlin. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers finishing 4th in this division. They announced Russell Wilson as their starting quarterback today. That is no longer a good thing. You have decent weapons on the offensive side, a decent running back combination in Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. Offensive line is still a bit of a question mark. George Pickens is your best wide receiving option. After that, it gets pretty thin. Pat Freiermuth is an okay tight end, probably mid-tier tight end. You have a good defense, but they're guys that get hurt and they're getting older. I just don't think the defense and Mike Tomlin can carry this team very far. And I think the quarterback play, whether it's Russell Wilson to start the year or whenever Justin Fields gets on the field, I don't think it's going to be good enough. Both those guys are not starting level caliber quarterbacks in this league anymore, at least for playoff teams. At the number 3 spot in the AFC North, I have the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns, you might be able to argue, have the best roster of any team in this division, but what is going on with Deshaun Watson? Does the Houston Deshaun Watson still exist? I don't really think it does. Can he get back anywhere near that because of the roster is so good? Nick Chubb starts off on the PUP list, so he's going to miss the first 4 weeks of the season. You have Jerome Ford to take over, but still not great situation there. They're going to be good on defense. You know that. They're well coached under Kevin Stefanski. It comes down to the quarterback position in 2024 in the NFL, and they have by far the 3rd best quarterback in this division. So that's why I have the Cleveland Browns finishing 3rd in this division. Number 2 in this division, I have the defending AFC North champions finishing second in this division, and that is the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens lost more than people thought. You lose Patrick Queen, you lose 2 players on the offensive line, you lose your defensive coordinator in Mike McDonald, and he goes to be the head coach in Seattle. So you lose a lot of leadership, and Mike McDonald was a young, budding star on the defensive side. That's why he's a head coach now in Seattle. So you lose that there. And with the Baltimore Ravens, the offense has gotten better, but I still don't trust them to be a high-flying offense. You bring in Derrick Henry to see what he's got left in the tank. I just don't. I think the Ravens will be a playoff team. I'll get to that in a little bit, and I think they'll be a very competitive team. I just don't have them winning this division because of the team I have winning this division, and that is the Cincinnati Bengals. When Joe Burrow is healthy, he wins the AFC North, bar none, and he ends up in the AFC Championship game. If he could stay healthy this year, and of course that's a big if, he's put on some weight, he's gotten stronger, he's put on some muscle as well, so hopefully that could help. T. Higgins is back for probably maybe his last year. He was franchise tagged. I do believe Jamar Chase will be out there for week 1. You still have good weapons there. It looks like they like what they got in Jermaine Burton when they drafted him out of Alabama. So we'll see what they have at Jermaine Burton there. Now you have a 2-headed monster in the backfield in both Chase Brown and Zach Moss. We'll see what they can do there. They fixed kind of the secondary on the defense, which was kind of the big issue for them last year in free agency and in the draft. So we'll see if that can improve. But I just trust Joe Burrow. When Joe Burrow's healthy, the Bengals win the AFC North. And if he can stay healthy, I have them winning the AFC North. Now we'll move to the AFC South. And this is kind of an interesting division, more interesting than people are thinking. In the 4th spot, I have the Tennessee Titans. I just don't trust Will Levis. What do you have at the running back spot? Tony Pollard's probably going to be your starter along with some other guys there. I don't trust their depth chart on the wide receiver. At the running back position. Wide receiver's not bad. You bring in Calvin Ridley to go along with DeAndre Hopkins. You bring in Tyler Boyd. So you have a good, decent wide receiving core there, but do I trust Will Levis to get them the ball on a consistent basis? I do not. And then the defensive side is okay, but that's just okay. So that's why I have them finishing 4th in this AFC South division. Finishing 3rd in the AFC South is the Indianapolis Colts. And the biggest reason I have the Colts finishing 3rd is I just don't know what to expect from Anthony Richardson. He did not look good this preseason. He looked good last year in the 3 to 4 games that he played. He is a guy I think is going to be very boom or bust. I have a feeling he's either going to have a very good year and turn some heads, or he's going to have a bad year and maybe the Colts are looking for another quarterback at the end of the year. He's not accurate. He does not know how to put touch on the ball. Everything's a fastball. Reminds me of Colin Kaepernick back in the day. And he's a guy that just doesn't know how to get down. He takes hits. Yes, he's a big quarterback, 6'5", 6'6", 250, 260 pounds. But you know what? These guys on defense are also big. They're going to hit you. This isn't college anymore, and he only had 13 starts at Florida, so he still is inexperienced. So I just don't trust Anthony Richardson as of right now, so that's why I have them as the finishing 3rd in this division. Finishing 2nd, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think some people are sleeping on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Another year in this offense under Doug Peterson with Trevor Lawrence. You still have Travis Etienne. You bring in, you still have Christian Kirk. You bring in Gabe Davis. You still have a solid receiving core. Evan Ingram had a really good year at tight end. Defense, I thought, got better towards the end of last year. Now you have Josh Hines-Allen as kind of the stalwart on that defense. I think they're going to surprise some teams and compete in this division. But winning the AFC South, I have the Houston Texans. And you could argue that the Houston Texans had the best offseason of any team in the league. You bring in Danielle Hunter from Minnesota. You bring in Stephon Diggs. You bring in Joe Mixon from Cincinnati. You go into your 2nd year with DeMeco Ryans as a head coach and C.J. Stroud. You think they're just going to get better and better, and they probably should. So the Texans, like I said, you could argue they may have had the best offseason of any team in this league, and that's why I have them winning the AFC South. And we'll go ahead and wrap up the AFC here with my AFC West predictions. And the number 4 spot, I hate to say this, but the Las Vegas Raiders. And it's kind of the reason we've outlined with other teams, the quarterback position. They named Gardner Minshew the quarterback. Gardner Minshew, I believe, is a backup in this league. He played pretty well for the Colts last year, but that was with Shane Steichen, who's supposed to be a young offensive genius, as his head coach. Now he's there with a cast off with Luke Getsy, the cast off from Chicago, and then Antonio Pierce is the head coach. They have weapons on the outside. Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, they draft Brock Bowers. You drafted Michael Mayer last year. There's weapons on this team. I just don't trust the quarterback position to get them the ball. Defense, you're probably going to have a stout defensive line with Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins, but what does the secondary look like, and what does the linebacking core look like, especially when you're going up against Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert twice a year, and now Bo Nix, and see what he could do. So that's why I have the Raiders finishing fourth. I just can't trust the quarterback position, and I still don't know if Antonio Pierce was the right guy head coach, but we'll see. And number 3 in this division, I have the Denver Broncos. Of course, you're starting Bo Nix. I think this is their ceiling in this division. We'll see if Bo Nix can continue to get better. Their offensive weapons are okay, but not great. Javonte Williams, Cortland Sutton outside at the wide receiver position. They cut Tim Patrick yesterday. That was a little bit of a surprise to me. So you lose Tim Patrick there. The defense is okay at best. They're not great. They're not terrible. They're okay at best. I think this is a team that might be competitive in a lot of games, but just not good enough to win at a consistent level. And then at number 2, I have the LA Chargers. Now, the LA Chargers, the only reason why I think that they could be a potential playoff team is because of Jim Harbaugh. But now you have Justin Herbert with a plantar fasciitis injury, so that's a concern there. Their wide receiver core is very weak. You have second-year player Quentin Johnston, who had a kind of a rough rookie year. Ladd McConkey is your next guy. He's a rookie second-round pick out of Georgia. Brandon Rice was a later pick out of USC. Who is going to be their wide receivers that they can rely on for Justin Herbert? Defense is getting older. Khalil Mack is getting up in age. Joey Bosa is getting up in age. Derwin James isn't old, but he's had some injuries as well. I believe in Jim Harbaugh as a head coach, even though he kind of bugs me as a person. He seems just as a weird overall person. But as a head coach, all he does is win games and turns teams around. So that's why I think they'll finish second in this division. And finishing first in this division is obviously no surprise. That is the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to finish first in the division. They upgraded their wide receiver core. We'll see what happens when Hollywood Brown comes back. But you bring in Xavier Worthy. Rashee Rice doesn't look like he's going to get suspended, so he looks like he'll be out there. Their defense has gotten better and better. Now they lose L'Jarius Sneed, so that is going to be a problem. But you bring back Chris Jones. You still have George Karlaftis. You still have Trent McDuffie. You still have a very good defense. And then, of course, you have the best coach and quarterback in the league, so that's why they're going to win the division. It doesn't really take very long to say who's going to win the AFC West. And now we'll move to the NFC, and we'll go back to the East Coast. We're going to start in the NFC East. In the 4th position, I have the New York Giants. I have zero trust and have never had trust in Daniel Jones as a quarterback. I think this will be his last year as a starting quarterback in the NFL and will transition to be a backup in the coming years if he's not out of the league. And what else? Outside of their defensive line with Burns and Thibodeau, what is there like on this Giants team? It's a questionable offensive line, questionable running back position now that you lost Saquon Barkley. Your best wide receiver is Malik Neighbors, who I think is going to be good, but he's still a rookie and relying on Daniel Jones to get on the ball. Your secondary on defense is okay at best. Everybody's like, well, they'll be good on defense. Well, they finished 26th and 27th in points and yards allowed respectively last year in the NFL, so they're not good on defense. So I don't know where people are getting this idea. I think Brian Burns is a good addition, but he's not going to make your defense that much better, especially since they're going to be on the field a lot because their offense is not very good. So I have the Giants finishing 4th in this division and being one of the worst teams in the league. At number 3, I have the Commanders. And I went back and forth with the Commanders. I almost put them all the way up to 2nd. Of course, I like Jaden Daniels. You still got Terry McLaurin. Kind of a head scratcher last week with trading Jahan Dotson in the division, but you bring in Austin Eckler to go with Brian Robinson. The defense has gotten better towards the end of last year. You got some younger guys on the defensive side. I thought they had one of the best drafts of any team this past season, so you'll see a lot of young players for them. Expect them to be good towards the end of the year. It might be a little rough out the gate, but I think they'll finish strong when their young players get more time and more experience. So that's why I have the Commanders at the 3rd. Finishing 3rd in the division. Finishing 2nd, I have the Dallas Cowboys. And the Dallas Cowboys have had a very weird and bad offseason. You finally get CeeDee Lamb's deal done, but you could have got him done months ago or even a year ago and probably paid maybe, $6-7 million less per year. You still haven't extended Dak Prescott. You still haven't extended Micah Parsons. You still haven't extended Mike McCarthy. And all Jerry Jones is out there doing is dropping F-bombs and having weird press conferences and weird interviews with beat right reporters. So I guess it's just another offseason in Dallas for most Cowboys fans, I'm guessing is how they feel, but not a good sign going into this year. And they're very top heavy. They're going to be very reliant on three guys, and those three guys are three of the guys I just mentioned: Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons. If one of those guys goes down, this could be a really long and rough year for the Cowboys. So that's why I have them finishing second. In the number one spot, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I don't love the offseason, how the season ended last year for the Philadelphia Eagles. We have the whole riff with Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. That's not good either. You bring in Saquon Barkley. I like that addition. You still have studs on the outside at A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, so that's going to be great as well. You lose Jason Kelce as your leader and your center and one of your best players on your team. That's going to be tough to replace. So the Eagles are going to finish first in this division, in my opinion, but I don't know how great of a record they're going to have. It might just be by default that they finish first in that division. And then we'll move to the NFC North. And both the AFC and NFC North are the best divisions in their respective conferences. Number 4, I have the Vikings. And the Vikings are a talented roster. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson when Key comes back. You bring in Aaron Jones. Sam Darnold will see. Loved him at SC about 6 years ago, but it's been a long time since he's played good football. And he really hasn't played good, consistent football in the NFL at all. So you have the weapons on offense. Your defense got better last year under Brian Flores, but I just don't know what to expect out of Sam Darnold. That's why I have them as the 4 seed. At the 3 seed, I have the Chicago Bears, and I almost moved the Chicago Bears to the second, finishing second in this division, but I went back and forth there. But man, did they set up Caleb Williams well. You bring in Keenan Allen. You draft Rome Odunze. You bring in DeAndre Swift. You already have DJ Moore, who you traded for last year. I think they're going to be really good on the offensive side. Their defense got better down the stretch last year after bringing in making some additions at the trade deadline. That is what Matt Eberflus does, is defense, so they should be good on the defensive side. This is a team that I think is going to start off well and end well. I don't think you're going to see a lot of rookie pains from Caleb Williams because of how they set him up with this team here, and I am actually really bullish on the Bears, but this is just a very tough division. And number 2 in this division, I have the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love is signed and extended. He's going to be the quarterback for the foreseeable future. You have just a ton of weapons at wide receiver: Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Dontavius Wicks, Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave at the tight end position. And they're all kids. They're all young. They're all on their rookie deals. So that's why you're able to pay Jordan Love a lot of money. That might become an issue if these guys all keep on hitting in years to come. But as of right now, love their young talent on the offensive side. Need to get better on the defensive side. You brought in some help on the defensive side, both through the draft and free agency. We'll see if they hit there. Bring in Josh Jacobs to play running back. He is a more healthy, more consistent running back versus Aaron Jones. So I like that addition there. So that's why I got the Packers finishing second. Finishing first in the division is a team I'm also very bullish on, and that is the Detroit Lions. And you can make an argument that the Detroit Lions may have the best roster in the entire league. Of course, you got Jared Goff at quarterback, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery at running back. That's a great 1-2 punch, and I think Jahmyr Gibbs is due for a huge year. Your wide receivers, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's just an absolute stud. Jamison Williams, who's gotten better and better. You have Sam Laporta in his second year at tight end. And you probably have the best offensive line in the entire league. Defensive is going to get better. You drafted guys like Terry Arnold out of Alabama, and you brought in some guys like Carlton Davis from Tampa Bay in the secondary. I think this Lions team is poised for another deep run into the playoffs and maybe even a Super Bowl run as well. Now we'll move to the NFC South, and probably the worst division in all of football. Finishing 4th in this division, I have the New Orleans Saints. I think it could be a long year for Saints fans, and any Saints fans out there listening or watching, I'm sorry that you have to hear that, but Derek Carr is what he is, and he isn't what he used to be. And what I mean by that is he used to be just an average quarterback. Now he's probably a below average quarterback. Chris Olave is still a good weapon. We'll see what we can get out of Kamara. He had kind of a bounce back year at the end of last year. They're okay. The defense is okay. I think this is probably the last year for Dennis Allen as the Saints head coach, and maybe the last year for Derek Carr as the starting quarterback. He may have to continue in the league as a backup, so not very high on the Saints going into the season. In the number 3 spot, I have the Carolina Panthers. They were by far the worst team in the league last year. Bryce Young had no protection. They bring in some offensive line protection through free agency and through the draft. That should help. You draft Xavier Legette in the first round. He should help a wide receiver. You trade for Deontay Johnson. He should help a wide receiver. So it's not all on old man Adam Thielen to be your top wide receiver. So that should help Bryce Young. I don't think they're going to be a great team. I just think they'll be a little bit better than the Saints. So that's why I have them finishing at third in the division. Number 2 in the division is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to retain all their major free agents, whether that was Baker Mayfield or Mike Evans and guys on the defensive side. So they did a really good job there. I just think there's a ceiling to this team. They have good top-end talents, but they're getting older. Mike Evans, how many years can he still keep on getting 1,000 yards? He's going to test that every time we give him a chance to. So I think the Bucs have a chance to make the playoffs. I just don't have them winning the division because I have the Atlanta Falcons finishing first and winning the NFC South. I'm not a huge Kirk Cousins fan, but he is a giant upgrade over Taylor Heineke, Desmond Ridder, Marcus Mariota, all the guys that they threw out the last 2 years. He is an upgrade. And now can we finally see the full potential of guys like Kyle Pitts and Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier? They have a ton of weapons on the offensive side. A couple additions they made last week in bringing in Matt Judon from the Patriots and signing Justin Simmons, the safety from the Denver Broncos, I thought were huge and kind of filled major needs for this Atlanta Falcons team. So I think this Falcons team wins the division, maybe a ceiling. That might be their ceiling. I don't see them as a Super Bowl contender, but I see them winning the NFC South. And now we'll move out west for probably my biggest surprise prediction. Let's go ahead and get there. Number 4, I have the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals will be kind of a sneaky, scrappy team. They were scrappy last year in a lot of games that they shouldn't have been in. You draft Marvin Harrison Jr., love that pick. Trey McBride in his second year is just going to get better. James Conner is a touchdown machine. Kyler Murray is fully healthy going into the season, so that should really help. Don't know what to expect on the defensive side. You have Jonathan Gannon in his second year as a head coach. He's a defensive guy. I thought he did a better job than what I expected of him last year, so we'll see if that improves. But this is a tough division, so that's why I have them finishing 4th. In the 3rd spot, I have the Seattle Seahawks, another team with a really good roster, questionable quarterback. I mean, you look at the wide receivers, you have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, running backs, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, very good on the offensive side. My biggest question mark for this Seattle Seahawks team is Geno Smith. We saw him kind of have his renaissance year a couple years ago. Last year, he struggled. Like I said, he has the weapons to have a successful season. He didn't utilize them that well. And the top 2 teams in this division, I think, are really, really good. So it's going to be tough for them to get out of that 3rd place spot. And here we go. In 2nd place, I have the San Francisco 49ers. I have them not winning the NFC West. And the biggest reason is they've had so much noise. So much noise this offseason, whether it's Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams. You lose the Super Bowl, so you have that little bit of a hangover. This is a team that cannot play without Trent Williams. Their offensive line is average without Trent Williams. Trent Williams makes their offensive line a top 10, 15 offensive line. Without him, they're a bottom 15 offensive line. And we've seen Brock Purdy struggle in the preseason, and the reports out of training camp is that he struggled, and he's not the same guy with Trent Williams not out there and Brandon Ayuk out there. They need to sign those guys. I might have an amendment if they end up signing those guys and getting them in the fold here in the next couple of days. But as of right now, I feel like they've had too much noise coming off a Super Bowl loss. I just don't like the momentum from this organization right now. That's why I have them finishing 2nd in this division. Finishing 1st, I have the Los Angeles Rams, a team with a ton of momentum. Puka Nacua had an unbelievable year. Cooper Kupp is finally back and healthy. Kyron Williams, I think, is an underrated running back in this league. Matthew Stafford is an underrated quarterback in this league. So I like their offensive skill position players. Defense, you do have to replace one of the best defensive linemen of all time in Aaron Donald, but they have good young players there, good players in the back end as well. I think this Rams team is not being talked about enough, and I think they win this division in the NFC West. So let me give you my playoff brackets. We'll start in the AFC. In the 1 seed, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. In the 2 seed, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. In the 3 seed, I have the Houston Texans. 4 seed, we have the Miami Dolphins. And then the 3 wild card spots, I have the Ravens, the Bills, and then my final wild card spot in the AFC is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm a little more bullish on them than other people are. I don't think they're getting talked about enough. I think Trevor Lawrence has his best year as a starter this year, and I think they take a good step forward. Don't win the division, but sneak into the playoffs and kind of surprise people there. But that is my AFC playoff teams. In the NFC, at the 1 seed, I have the Detroit Lions. I think they're the best roster in the NFL and really, really good team with really good momentum and had a really good offseason. And number 2, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they're going to benefit from a weaker division. They finished second in the division last year, so they don't have a first place schedule. So they're going to finish number 2 in the conference and be the 2 seed in the playoffs. Number 3, I have the Los Angeles Rams. I think they're going to have some bumps and bruises in the NFC West, playing both the 49ers and the Seahawks, and even Arizona is going to be a scrappy team, like I mentioned earlier. So that's why they end up with the 3 seed. The 4 seed in my final division winner is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. And then my 3 wildcard teams, I have the San Francisco 49ers, who are the top wildcard team, the Green Bay Packers, and the 3rd team to get into the playoffs from the NFC North. Give me the Chicago Bears to be the last team to get in from the NFC North, and they're going to represent the NFC North as the final wild card team in the NFC. So that has been my division predictions and my playoff team predictions. Let's go ahead and get to my final topic, and that is going to be my week 1 college football picks. We're here. We finally made it. We had kind of a little bit of appetizer last week with Georgia Tech and Florida State, which was a very good game, by the way, and a huge upset for Georgia Tech knocking off Florida State in Dublin. But now we get the full course meal, Labor Day weekend. Let's go ahead and get into my picks. First pick is going to be the morning game, and on ESPN we have number 1 Georgia versus Clemson, number 14 Clemson. This is going to take place in Atlanta. So a little bit of a home game, but Clemson isn't that far from Atlanta either. And Georgia is currently a 13.5-point favorite in this game. I think Georgia wins this game, but I think Clemson keeps it closer than the experts think. So give me Clemson to cover. So give me Clemson plus 13.5 in this game. And number 2, I have the other game that's going to be a morning game, and that is number 8 Penn State at West Virginia in Morgantown. This is the big noon kickoff game. Morgantown is obviously a tough place to play. Fans are going to be rowdy there. 8-point spread for Penn State right out the gate. I think they win, but give me West Virginia to cover. So give me West Virginia plus 8 in this game to cover. At number 3, I have, this is the afternoon game, the 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 Eastern time kickoff, and we have number 19 Miami at Florida, and Miami is a favorite. They're a 2.5-point favorite in this game. I think Miami wins and covers. I really like the additions, of course, of Cam Ward and Damian Martinez at the running back position. Don't know what to make of Florida. I think it's going to be a rough year, and I think it probably will be the last year that Billy Napier is the head coach there. So give me Miami to win and cover. Miami minus 2.5 is the pick in this game. Then the night game on Saturday, and this is going to be on ABC. We have number 7 Notre Dame at number 20 Texas A&M down in College Station. Texas A&M is a 3-point favorite in this game. Might have come down to 2.5, but last time I checked, it was 3. Give me Notre Dame to cover. I think they may win the game outright, but give me Notre Dame plus 3. Riley Leonard comes in as a quarterback. Now, Texas A&M brings in Mike Elko. He has experience on that staff there, but maybe there is some growing pains. We'll see what Connor Wegman has. We've been told he's supposed to be the guy for a while now, but I like Notre Dame to cover, and I think they could win the game outright. So give me Notre Dame plus 3 in this game. And then the final game I'm going to pick is the Sunday night game in Vegas, and that is number 23 USC versus number 13 LSU. And these two teams are basically a mirror image of each other. You're replacing the top 2 picks in the draft in Caleb Williams and Jane Daniels. You're replacing terrible defensive coordinators. Both Blake Baker's now the coordinator at LSU. D'Anton Lynn is the coordinator at USC. We'll see if there's any defense being played. I think the defense will both be better, but it may not show week 1. Either way, we have LSU as a 4-point favorite in this game. I think USC covers and has a chance to win and surprise some people in this game. So give me USC plus 4 in this game to cover and potentially win the game outright. So those are my week 1 college football picks. We're a couple days away from Saturday, but there is some good games tomorrow night as well. That has been my show. Once again, if you prefer the audio version, you can find it on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Or if you want to do the video version, it is right here on YouTube under Sports Talk on a Budget. Please like and subscribe to the show or leave a comment if you'd like. Give me your picks for the weekend in college football. I'd love to see that. But thank you again for watching and listening, and have a great day.